start.
Thank you
नमस्कार
very
सर।
much.
Good evening, sir.
We welcome you, sir, and we welcome also Dr. Professor R.S. Rathore, sir. He has also joined the session with us, sir. Good evening, all. I, Dr. Preeti, welcome you all on behalf of Sri Vishwakarma Skill University, Palwal, Haryana, to the AICT Training and Learning, that is Atal Faculty Development Program, on driving the future sustainable mobility through electric vehicle technologies and MATLAB simulations, jointly organized by Skill Department of Automotive Studies and Skill Department of Green Technology under the Skill Faculty of Engineering and Technology. It's a great honor for us to have with us today's our chief guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumar sir, whose visionary leadership continuously inspire the innovation, skill-based education and excellence at Sri Vishwakarma Skill University. We are privileged to welcome our guest of honor, Professor Vikram Singh sir, Dean Academics, whose invaluable guidance and academic stewardship have strengthened the quality of teaching, research and learning outcomes at the university. I also welcome respected deans, chairpersons, learned expert speakers, the faculty members, and the dear participants. In today's rapidly evolving world, sustainable mobility and the electric vehicle technologies are at the heart of global innovation. This 1 week FDP is designed to empower faculty members, research scholars with advanced knowledge, simulation tools, and hands on expertise using MATLAB, contributing significantly to the research, teaching, and practical implementation in the field of electric mobility. Now, to begin the program, I would like to invite Dr. Sanjay Singh Rathore, sir, Chairperson, Skill Department of Automotive Studies, and Coordinator of this FDP, to deliver the welcome address and brief us about the objectives of this Atal FDP. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Preeti. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are clearly audible.
First of all, I would like to heartily welcome our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dinesh Kumar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, and visionary leadership for India's first skill university, Sri Vishwakarma Skill University. In addition to this, I would also like to welcome Professor Vikram Singh, who is the backbone for the academics of our university, and all the deans of SVSU, chairperson, and all the participants across the India. I welcome all of you on this Atal FDP on driving the future sustainable mobility through electric vehicle technology and MATLAB simulation. This is sponsored by AICT, so we would like to thank to AICT for this meaningful FDP, and this FDP will happening from 6 days starting today from 8 December to 13 December and through online mode only, and the timing will be from 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. daily on this platform. The link of the uh, online link is already shared with all the participants. It is it is also pleasure to sharing this that in this FTP, presently 226 participant has joined this FTP across the India from 20 states, including Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, UP, Andhra Pradesh, in Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan, Punjab, including all major states. They are participating, Karnataka, and as far as the objective of this FTP is concerned, I would like to throw the light on the importance of the electrical vehicle system in today's environment, and it actually requires a sustainable mobility solution. And this FDP is designed to provide a comprehensive understanding of these two aspects, including the simulation tool using MATLAB. I am sure that this FTP will offer an interdisciplinary approach covering area lies EV modeling, powertrain, battery simulation, digital control, AI ML integration, cybersecurity, and the latest trend in the electrical mobility. I will also would express my sincere thanks for all the speaker who have humbly consented for this FDP, and we are having 15 expert speaker right from abroad and Indian leading technical institution and the leading industry personnel. They are going to join in this FDP and deliver the talk. The schedule of the FDP is also shared with all the participants, and I am sure that with this 6 days workshop, the participant will not only have the opportunity to gain the knowledge about the modeling and simulation, practical implementation of digital control, power EV drive, and also the key quality and standard which are going to be required in the coming technological changes world in EV sector, and it will be fruitful for both the academia and industry. I'm not taking much time because we will be discussing these issue throughout 6 days. So thank you for joining all this meaningful FDP on sustainable mobility. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request our respected guest of honor, Dean Academics, Sir, Professor Vikram Singh, to kindly address the gathering and share his valuable guidance, please.
Thank you, Dr. Preeti.
Thank you, sir.
Audible?
Yes, sir, you are clear.
Uh, Chief guest of the day, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dinesh Kumar ji. It's and Deans and Chairperson, coordinator of this program, co-coordinator of this program, and dear participants. It's truly a privilege to join you today as the this important gathering. The topic that is being chosen for this FDP, which is being sponsored by AICT. Congratulations to the coordinators for fetching the grant for this FDP. This is 60 FDP that and the number of participants that have shown interest itself is an achievement that so many participants from the different states are willing to join and understand the sustainable mobility, which is the topic for the today. When we talk of sustainable mobility, the title itself says the driving the future. What we can understand not only a technological shift, but it reflects a societal transformation that each one of us are witnessing now. Because when we talk of this transformation, uh, there are a lot of climate concerns, energy security, rapid urbanization, which demands some kind of transformation. And EV is one of them that is being adopted. Specifically, if we see the adoption of electric vehicles in India, it is at a very fast rate. It represents one of a new kind of automobile, which gives us a more cleaner, smarter, and responsible future or responsible mode of travel. But there are many challenges are also related with the electric vehicles, because when we say cleaner, smarter energy, are we truly being using a cleaner energy to drive these electric vehicles? That is also one of the challenge. When we talk of electric vehicles, there are a lot of technologies that are coming up. You will in next 6 days, you will be able to find a lot of technological advancements related to battery chemistry, power electronics, thermal management, regenerative braking. These are some of the areas in which a lot of research is being done in India to make it more sustainable and a safe kind of mode of travel. And many of the experts which are aligned for this session, they are going to deliver their talk covering all these aspects related to technological advancements and as well as the challenges, how to cope up those challenges. Uh, it is being the organizers, they have tried to cover up this topic, and also MATLAB is being used as a tool for simulation. It will give all the engineers, because many of those who are participating, they are aware of MATLAB simulation, but those who are not aware of MATLAB solution, definitely hands-on practices. I hope the organizers, the coordinator, they have arranged for hand-on practices for the participants also. Thank you once again for inviting me for this session. Uh, uh, and welcome to the FDP on behalf of the university to the all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the motivation and the academic vision also for the FDP. Now, I humbly request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, today's chief guest, Professor Dinesh Kumar, sir, to give his blessings and formally inaugurate the Atal FDP program. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Preeti. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are clear.
Thank you. So, first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks for inviting me to this Atal FDP inaugural session. As Dr. Vikram mentioned, that the importance of this particular program, I also feel that in this age when everything is going electrical, in India, there's this electric mobility is, taking its increased role at a very fast pace. And I'm sure by the end of perhaps 2030, most of the vehicles will be electrical all over the places. And in order to make sustainable, as you said, I think this is the only kind of technology it can become sustainable if we try to reduce uh, most of the losses which actually may occur during our not very highly efficient design. If we see that these MATLAB simulations can give you an idea that how to increase the efficiency and how to reduce the losses. So I'm sure being a powerful tool, this can give you a kind of thing that perhaps within 5 years things would become totally different. I remember when we bought electric car almost 4 years back. It used to charge for almost only the time that it used to run hardly 80 to 100 kilometers. But now with the advent of the time, I find that nowadays we have the electric vehicles, electric cars, where you can charge your battery to such a high value that it can run even up to 300, 400 kilometers. So this has been possible just because a lot of changes have been made in the battery and the whole power electronics and other areas. And this has been done basically using this kind of simulation tools, where MATLAB simulation tool is also going to be very effective. And I have used MATLAB simulations for other purposes, but yes, this can also work very effectively for trying to find out the best solutions for electric vehicles and mobility. So I think I would like to congratulate the organizers, especially our coordinator, Dr. Sanjay Singh Rathore, and co-coordinator, Dr. Preeti, for bringing this Atal FDP to our university, and where I'm really impressed that almost 227 participants are attending this FDP across the India. And not only this, even the experts have, even the resource person they have chosen. It is not from India only; it is all over the world. So I can see the importance of this program, which is being designed in such a way that after work you can participate and you can attend this, and you can increase your knowledge and understanding in this area. So my best wishes to all the participants, my best wishes to all the resource persons and all the people who are going to attend this conference, this FDP. And I'm sure by the end of the day, when you complete this FDP, your new ideas about MATLAB simulations will be immersed and will be in you, and you can make use of those ideas, and you can do even your further research effectively in this area. So, Skill University, Sri Vishwakarma Skill University is committed towards generating skills. Maybe it is at the lower end, maybe it is at the higher end, and I'm sure that this higher end skill will be useful for doing a lot of research in this area. So, my best wishes to all the participants, my best wishes to all the organizers of this conference, this FDP, and I'm sure by the end of this FDP, we will all be happy, and this is a kind of happy situation. So, thank you very much, Dr. Preeti, for inviting me here. Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay. My best wishes to you, and I'm sure if I get time, I will also try to attend a few things here, because I also want to learn few things related to this MATLAB simulations and how you do it. Thank you very much again. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir, for your leadership and the inspiring words that truly motivate us to excel in the domain of skill development as well as the sustainable mobility and the emerging technologies. With this, we formally conclude the inaugural ceremony of this AICT Atal FDP on driving the future sustainable mobility through electric vehicle technologies and MATLAB simulations. We look forward to an enriching and interactive and technically rewarding week ahead for all the participants. So I would request all the participants to remain connected as the first technical session of the 6 days FTP to be delivered by Dr. Amit Sharma sir will commence shortly from 6:30 p.m. onwards. So we are thankful to Honorable VC sir and Dean Academic sir for joining this inaugural ceremony of the FTP. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Preeti.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank
you
you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. I would request all the participants to please remain connected. Hearty welcome, Dr. Amit Sharma, sir. Am I audible to you?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. If it's your permission, sir, can we start the session, or should we wait for another 2-3 minutes?
I just want to know that if the share screen, then it will. I try to share the screen,
Okay.
but somehow it's saying
Sir,
entire screen. Or somehow
please click on entire screen.
it is being clicked. Actually, nothing happening here.
In click,
Just a
and then
moment.
there is a click option on the bottom, sir. Click on share then.
It is not actually bluish. It's a darker one, so it means it's not operable. In fact,
Okay. I'll just connect you over call, sir. Now your screen is visible, sir.
I'm unmuting myself. Okay. Now opening my PPT. Okay.
It's visible to us, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we can start.
Thank you very much, sir. So welcome once again, everyone, to the first session of the 6 days FDP, and we extend our warm welcome to today's expert speaker, Dr. Amit Sharma, sir, who is working as an associate professor in Mechanical Engineering Department of Deenbandhu Choturam University of Science and Technology, Murthal, Sonipat, Haryana, a state university government of Haryana. Dr. Amit Sharma did his PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. During his PhD, he was recipient of Senior Research Fellowship of MNRE and CSIR, and also the National Renewable Fellowship. He is the active researcher in the field of heat pipe heat exchanger, ground earth heat exchanger, energy and exergy analysis of thermal systems, comfort air conditioning, outdoor thermal comfort, and passive novel green technologies for AC applications. He has published many research papers in international journals and conferences. 3 patents have been granted to him on evaporative cooling technology as well. He has teaching and research experience of more than 15 years and guided many MTech dissertations and PhD theses. We welcome you, sir, for the expert session on evolution of sustainable technologies with a focus on electric vehicles.
Thank you, Dr. PP.
Thank you
I
very
think
much.
I'm audible.
Yes, sir,
And
you are audible.
since now for me it's like a black box, I'm seeing my presentation. I'm not able to see any of you. Uh, so anyone having a problem, to please raise the voice because I cannot raise your hand if you raise your hand because my side the PPT is running. Okay, so let us start. Uh, around the 2 3 week backs when Dr. Rathore Sanjay Singh contacted me, he told me that I need to deliver a lecture on evolution of sustainable technologies with a focus on electric vehicle. That was the topic was given to me. Uh, since I'm more or less an air conditioning expert, my working has been on comfort air conditioning, heat exchangers, heat packet exchangers, uh, air conditioning, system design. So I was just thinking what I can give you in this FDP. So I just break the things. It's an evolution. So I try to give you one not a kind of case study, but a kind of a story that how one technology which we call the passive technology that is being used in household activities, industries, satellites, electric vehicles, automobiles, all kind of stuff is being used. So I want to give you just glimpse of how these technologies came to being, what how idea how that idea come into device into a device that is being used throughout the globe, and uh, then I gave you some studies on energy conservation that entails. This is what I'm delivering: the heat pipe technology evolution, development, and its heating, ventilation, and air conditioning applications. So basically, in this lecture, I'm discussing the evolution or development of this technology, aside from the starting from the ideas, how ideas can be converted into a device that is being used all over the globe, and then this system when it developed It's taken up by entire industry, you name it, and it has an application there. Since this FDP is for the electric vehicles, and electric vehicles are part of the automobile, a bigger version. So I'm giving you the automobiles and then electric vehicle glimpse, and also the its uses for general food storage application, and also global warming also. I end my thing on global warming. Okay, so let us start with the development of this technology. This is what some kind of a chronology. I would like to begin my story. Something its era is something some 60, 62, 64, 66, 1962, 64, 66 era. Uh, and our heroes were GM Grover, Ericsson, Carter. They were working in a Los Alamos laboratory, USA, and they're working on try to evolve a device that could transfer a heat uh, so that they can thermal manage the satellite space vehicles. And that era, basically, USA trying to be superpower in the space industry. So they're, of course, they're working on that. Uh, then how this in 1996 to 66 in Los Alamos laboratory, these three people actually named the system called heat pipe, which I'm using this, which I'm using this as a heading, the heat pipe technology. The name is given by them. And what they said, what they developed, basically, they're developing this device to transfer heat from electronics system, so that the system could be cooled and then can sustainable, and then can be have a longer life, what is the longevity. Uh, they they created a heat pipe, and they call it as a superconductor, and as per them, it is a synergistic engineering structure having very high thermal conductance, exceeding that of any known material. And what ideas they have used? They just the basically three ideas they've used. They want to transfer heat from one end, where the electronic gadgets is there, from heat is taken out, and the sink part where we reject the heat. And these two parts connected by the heat pipe. So what they did, they put like a container. Uh, Normal strategy was the container, and then they have a big kind of structure that give a capillary action, and then they have a working fluid which actually evaporates, take the heat from where heat is to be extracted and rejected at some low temperature zone, and then the liquid which condense at other end, it actually come back to starting point. And this way, the passively heat is transferred from one end to other end. And the idea basically simple, that you want to use the evaporation and condensation. That's called a vapor pump. Then they, since they're working on a zero gravity, so they want that when the liquid come back to the initial stage or initial phase, we call it evaporator. They're this done by means of the capillary action provided with the wick, and whole thing's happening in the container. That's how it's a device. These three ideas, they club it together and coined a name called heat pipe. This all happened in 1964. If I put 1 year, so 1964, all happened in 1964, where they coined the term heat pipe. This, if you're able to see my cursor, I'm not able to color it, but this is what they explain the paper they have. This photo is taken from their paper, very famous paper. Those who know about heat pipe, and then it's a very initial stage of the paper. So everything happened in 1964. Then we dive down in the history 20 years from now, from before, sorry, 20 years before. Richard S. Gobler. He was an engineer and working in a General Corporation, Motor Corporation. He tried to build some kind of a refrigerator kind of stuff. Actually, he wanted to cool the beer cans, so that beers drink by the drivers and the inhabitants of the car vehicle, that could be cooled. And what he want to take out the heat from that compartment and reject it to the surroundings. Normal logic he wanted to have. What he does, he actually what he did, he developed again a system, a kind of a container, and use the evaporation and condensation. Means evaporation, how it happens, it fill the container of working fluid, it takes the heat from where suppose a beer has to be cooled, so it takes the heat from there. Okay, he and that liquid vaporizes, it goes to other end where the temperature is low, and it rejects the heat to the atmosphere, and the liquid to condensate after heat transfer, come back to the initial stage by means of capillary action. This capillary action actually envisaged by this Gogler. So his contribution is that that things in a container, and then we have a wicking structure which provides a capillary action. Actually, he wanted gravity should be taken care of, and okay, and heat can be transferred. But actually, in his case, what has happened? He took a container, inside it's a wick, and then he filled the working fluid. The beer which is to be cooled down, it takes the heat from there, and then inside the container there's a liquid which vaporizes, goes upward, and then when it encounters a low temperature zone, it condenses and come back to initial state by means of gravity. But actually, he put a wicking structure inside that. That's happened in 1944. He took the patent on that also, Richard Gogler. Okay. Here also again the ideas were using that heat is being transferred by means of evaporation and condensation. It's called a vapor pump. Then you put a wicking structure which provides capillary action. Okay, and that is everything's happening in the container. Again, go back to the again further history. Like in this whole thing, what is happening? The liquid which is working fluid which is evaporated and goes to the other end. There it condensate. It become liquid and come back to the initial state by means of gravity. This actually whole thing is called thermosiphon. This thermosiphon what is a very simple system. We all know that lower side we have a working fluid or liquid. When we apply the heat, it vaporizes, go to upward, and when condensed, it and come back to the initial state by means of a gravity. This is what thermosiphon, very common thing, very famous thing. Everybody knows this thing used by the Perkins family in 1836 to 1900. They've got a lot of patent. They built boilers, oven applications, but they use thermosiphon. A thermosiphon is a very simple device. Perkins tube is very famous one. I'll show the patent diagram also in the next slide. And Perkins actually explored the thermosiphon for the various applications. So waste heat application, boiler application, oven application. Okay. So again, here also the idea was do you transfer the heat by means of evaporation and condensation? By in evaporation as well as condensation, the heat transfer coefficient is very high, very large, huge one. Again, we trace back how anyone else in future who actually envisages this idea of vapor pump. So we found in paper called by Smith in 1980, what we found that in 1813, Boston developed a Boston Tri-Ferrous. I don't have a photograph with me to show the slide in the slide. It is actually two kind of a glass containers linked with a glass tube. Okay, inside when you supply the heat, it becomes vapor, and these vapor transferred from this tube and goes to the other end and condense, and that's how by means of evaporation and condensation heat can be transferred. That was shown by the Boston in his Boston's Tri-Ferrous in 1813. So if I summarize this whole chronology, that thing started from 1813. These whole journeys, I'm explaining my point of view because Grover took a lot of limelight on the heat pipe, but we take like how ideas come into the device that is usable. That starts from 1813. Boston showed the idea of vapor pump, means by means of evaporation and condensation that happening in the closed container, that can be done. Okay, then Perkins same idea of vapor pump. They use thermosiphon. And in a closed container they have a fluid. When we supply the heat, it becomes vaporizes. Vapor goes upward, and when they encounters other lower temperature zone, it becomes condensate, liquid, and liquid goes back to the starting point by means of a gravity. This is what thermosiphon, and that is extensively used by the Perkins family, and there are a lot of patents on the names. Okay, then in 1944, Gogler what did, he used the evaporation condensation technique called a vapor pump. Again, he wanted to transfer heat one to other end, but applications were different. But he put the wicking structure that provide the capillary action. Suppose here, earlier one, in thermosiphon, you have a gravity by means of liquid coming back from condenser to evaporator, from the working fluid where it condenses, and again it goes back to the evaporator where heat is supplied, done by means of a gravity action. But if we don't want gravity, suppose we are in some way gravity doesn't play its role, then that was envisaged by the Gogler that we put a capillary action given by the wicking structure. So now we have the vapor pump, we have a wicking structure that provides capillary action. Then there is a Trefethen. I would say he's an unsung hero. He was also sometimes worked in Los Angeles laboratory. He also 1962 he demonstrated the capillary means used for transferring heat transfer devices for space application, but I don't know why, but he could not get any limelight. Then comes 1964. GM Grover summarized all the things: idea of vapor pump in a container. He used a picking structure. What he did, he put a container inside it, lined with a baking structure that provides a capillary action. He filled the container inside the working fluid, charge it. We call it charge it at subatmospheric pressure. When it supplies the heat at the other end, wherever we supply the heat, we call it evaporator. It takes the heat, liquid become vaporizes. Vapor goes to other end where it encounters a low temperature zone. It becomes condensate, liquid. The liquid goes back by means of a capillary action provided by the wicking structure. And that is, since this thing used to be in spacecrafts or space vehicles, so it works in zero gravity or without gravity. Okay, so that was all comprised by the Grover in 1964. This thing. So if we say this is the diagram or the Perkins tube, basically famous Perkins tube taken from the patent they took in 1892, and that right side diagram from a patent from a goggler when he worked on a when he was working in General Motor Corporation. So Grover what did that he explores the passive nature. Why it's called passive nature? Because we want to transfer the heat. We all know about the AC and refrigerators. We know that let's take a case of refrigerator. You know that you cool down things in the refrigerator, your milk and cold water take and perishable goods there, you keep it there. You take out the heat. It seems that you actually extracting the heat from a low temperature and injecting to the high temperature. It's not possible basically. So it is possible only when we supply the external work. And what we normally do, we just switch on the electricity, and electricity does run the compressor. Later on in the slides, I'll explain you these things also detail, because we talk of air conditioning of vehicles and households. Okay, so here in refrigerators, we are actually running the compressor by means of electricity. But here heat is being transferred without using an external work. So that is why it is called passive nature, because an evaporation condensation technique is being used, and have happening in a sealed container. So that's all things combined by the Grover and give us a heat pipe or device. That was a rage in 1966-64. All the spacecrafts, with everybody's overwhelmed by this device, because now we have a device that can thermal manage the satellites, electric vehicles. Thermal manage the satellites, space vehicles. So it's taken up by the space industry overwhelmingly. This is what was explained by some animation, which I just explained to you. Right hand side, there's where it is written as evaporation. In this, it has a whole. This orange color is called whole container, sealed container. In fact, inside it there is a wick structure lined all along the inside the container. Then we charge this container with the working fluid, and we sealed it. When we want to transfer the heat from one end to other end, here we call it evaporation. We supply the heat here. Okay, heat inside written over the heat in. When we supply the heat, and the liquid vaporizes because of pressure difference. Your vapor goes to the other end. This zone that's called condensation, it encounters a low temperature zone. So vapor becomes condensed, it condensate, become liquid, and this liquid condensate goes back to the evaporator by means of the capillary action provided by the wicking structure. So in this way, heat can be transferred from this end, where it is the heat in, and heat out to other end, heat out passively. So just make it either things work. If it works, if they keep on working. So three main structures: container, wicking structure, and working fluid. So the ideas which were being used is the evaporation condensation, then the capillary structure for defining the gravity. Okay, so we can say that the journey of heat pipe started in 1813, and it took approximately 150 years to develop a heat pipe technology. And after that, it's taken by all the industry. Reason why is summarized in these properties here. The property is that it has a large operating temperature. The heat pipes are available of many kind. We have a working fluids ranging from the water and to the liquid metals. That is, liquid metals being used in the nuclear power plant to transfer the heat. Then it has a large heat transfer capability with a minimum temperature gradient. Why is it so? Because heat is being transferred by means of a evaporation condensation. Evaporation condensation have a huge heat transfer coefficient. So normal almost have a constant temperature. So different geometries are possible. How you have a source of suppose circular region or circular shape or symmetrical shape. Different geometries could be addressed because what you do, you just change the shape of the evaporator, okay, and you have the source temperature, and then you have different geometries are possible. Thermal diode, what thermal diode? You know that it only allow heat to a one direction. Now, one direction means thermosiphon. It's the biggest example. In that, you transfer the heat from one to other end, and since liquid coming back from the regions from the heat is transferred and go back to the initial state by means of gravity. So you reverse it, it won't work. It won't work. So it's kind of thermal diode. It's a passive element, so no external work is required, no moving part, maintenance free. You make it with long life and flexibility in construction. So actually, it's taken up by the aerospace industry in big way in 1970s. Then 1980 energy conservation applications being explored. Then industrial and natural energy utilization also used. And nowadays, computers, electronics, cooling, is very big way they are using it. Even your laptops, your phones, handsets, they have a heat pipes then in a very big way. And in space, if we talk of space application, even now, no space mission can be fulfilled without having these kind of devices on the board to maintain the thermal management. So if you summarize, the thermal control of satellites, re-entry vehicles, passive cooling of nuclear reactors, solar collectors, you trap it and you transfer the solar energy by it, receivers, agro dryers, solar plate, industrial utilization of waste heat recovery in kilns, blast furnace, air conditioning, which you deal it in this lecture, HVAC, heat pipe based system used in hot and humid climate, permafrost stabilization. Even now, you must have heard about the Trans-Alaska pipeline. Uh, they stabilize the permafrost, and that they're doing it by putting the heat pipe in the ground so that it remains at same temperature for longer periods. It's still working. And cold storage for agro products in cold regions, de-icing of roads, laptops cooling, transistor thyristors, automatic cooling, which normally cover in this lecture. Then then die casting, injection molding, and some global warming also. Let's see how. Since let us start the system. So now we are actually heading towards the HVAC applications. Uh, I'm starting this lecture as for a comfort since I'm working on a comfort air conditioning. So for me, if I had been a participant, people talking about MATLAB simulations and some power trains and the analysis. So I would whatever scratch my head. So let us start things with the things which will give us comfort. What are air conditioning? So we all know about air conditioning. Even the small child all know the air conditioning. But we low bit or late since we are technical people. So we try to justify that how heat pipes being used here. So, before embarking upon the journey on air conditioning that is being used in buildings, in automobiles, maybe with electric vehicles, let's start briefly on a nitty-gritties of the air conditioning. In this, you see that in this air conditioning system, basically we have four components. We have a evaporator, we have a compressor, we have a condenser, we have an expansion valve. In evaporator, we have a working fluid called a refrigerant. Uh, this refrigerant actually when coming from the expansion wall, this encounters the outer region. Let us assume that we are working on a refrigerator. Suppose some ice is being made or some milk is being cooled, water bottle being cooled. It takes the heat from there. This refrigerant, we fill the refrigerant at some low pressure. It takes the heat from there. It becomes vaporizes at low pressure, and this low pressure refrigerant goes to the compressor. Compressor compresses the refrigerant, from low temperature to high temperature, and this high temperature refrigerant vapor goes to the condenser. What the condenser does, it condenser faces the ambient, and he transfer the heat. The high temperature vapor refrigerant transfer the from condenser to the ambient. It rejects the heat and it becomes liquid. The liquid refrigerant goes to the it was at high pressure. Liquid refrigerant goes to the expansion wall. Expansion wall, what does it actually expand it or drop the pressure? It again become low pressure, and low pressure refrigerant goes to the evaporator. It takes the heat and become vaporizes, and cycle goes on. This cycle is called the vapor compression refrigerant cycle. And you see some drops of water. You must have had an air conditioning. You have a drip pans and water being dropped. This is happening because air, which actually is cool the air, it has got a moisture inside it, and that moisture actually when the temperature of the evaporator coil is less than the dew point temperature. Dew means that first dew formed. That dew means water droplets formed. That's called dew, and that becomes water. That water condenses from the air, because that water actually when the water inside that air, when it exposes the evaporator, which has low temperature, it strikes the water, the moisture comes out and it drops in a drip pan. This thing happening in the refrigerator, and this is happening in the air conditioning. So after understanding the concept of the air conditioning, uh, now see how this is being used. This heat pipe is being used in this system. Now, in this is a basically system two diagram shown is a big duct. We talk about central air conditioning, and the earlier, this is basically the concept of vapor compression cycle that being used in a window AC, be it employed in automobiles, be it employed in households, or a central air conditioning system. Now, if you have a central air conditioning system, the air which is coming out of duct, these are the photograph of two ducts. Air coming from these two ducts actually is a moisture laden duct. So, and there's a lot of moisture is there, it causes a fungus. Nobody wants to breathe air from coming from these ducts. This is happening why? Because when the air which having a very high moisture content, if it then condense and come out from the evaporator, it becomes a lot of moisture, and condension takes place. Low down in this buildings in a hot and humid climate, there's a lot of problem in that coastal areas where humidity is very high. Buildings having high moisture sensitive products like malls, operation theaters, libraries, museum, they have a problem with the moisture. Okay, the concept is here shown in the lowermost diagram. Here we have a hot and humid air coming from the coming, and it goes to evaporator coil. When it faces the evaporator coil, it comes out, it becomes dehumidified. When that air moisture gets striped off, and that moisture goes down. That's happening in the drip pans. Okay, the air which is coming out of the evaporator coil is at very low temperature, and RH is very high. So what have to do? We have to do a heating. The heating has to be done so that the temperature is raised, and the RH should be raised, and the air which is coming out of it is at a comfortable level. This is shown here. This is shown here. In this diagram, what's happening? Air at point one is coming from the atmosphere. It goes to the cooling coil, and the two which is coming out of the cooling coil, which is at a very low temperature and very high RH, very high RH. So to maintain a comfort temperature, we have to do reheating, and reheating is done by means of electricity, which is a high grade energy. So we are using energy in two parts. If we are running the cooling coil, means we have a compressor which is connected with the cooling coil, which was seen in a VCR cycle. That's called vapor compression efficient cycle. And then we have heating that is done by means of again electricity or gas. Both two types of system, energy are the high grade energy. And ASHRAE is what American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, Air Conditioning Engineers, ASHRAE, they prohibited of using the higher energy after the cooling coil. Means you're using an energy, first off using energy cooling down, and then you again reheat. It doesn't, they stop that. We don't want that thing. So how can done? This can be done by means of employing a heat pipe. In this diagram, the right hand side diagram, there we have a U there which say shape. Air which is coming out at one stage, it goes to the heat pipe heat exchanger. What it does, it's actually, this is incoming air is actually a hot air. it takes the heat from air side, low down the temperature of the incoming air. And this low temperature air goes to the evaporator coil, and now evaporator coil cool down. So now since evaporator coil is facing a low temperature air, so it do less work. And this air, after cooling down, goes to the upper end, that's called condenser. Whatever heat taken out in the evaporator section is rejected at this end and goes to the room. This thing is explained in this. We have a cyclomatic chart. The state one is its entry point. It goes to the heat pipe heat exchanger. This lower portion 1 to 2 dash is called an evaporator, which takes the heat. We inside they have a tubes. We have only seen the heat pipe, how heat pipe works. It goes inside. Okay, it takes the heat from incoming air, and heat is being transferred from this vapor section to the condenser section. And in this first diagram, this reheating coil is removed. Earlier it was done by the electricity. Now it is now heating done passively by employing the heat pipe exchanger. So it uses the heat of the incoming air, okay, and rejecting heat to the condenser section and increase the RH and temperature level. This is shown in this cyclomatic chart, the lower top lower bottom right hand side. It's called cyclomatic chart. At state 1, you're entering in the 1 to 2 dash is happening in this evaporator section. It takes a sensible heat. What is sensible heat? Sensible heat means the moisture remains constant. We're not talking of humidity. It's called sensible heat. Then 2 dash, it goes to the evaporator coil. It cool down. The 2 dash is shown in the evaporator coil. At 2 to 3 is actually the heat is being added by the heat pipe heat exchanger. This is shown in the cyclomatic chart. Okay, and this is what a U-shaped heat pipe heat exchanger, where the same thing is that this is a vertical or straight type heat exchanger. This is a U-shaped heat pipe heat exchanger. In this air, incoming air, hot and humid air coming to the evaporator section, it takes the heat from 1 to 2 dash inside the heat pipe. Heat is taken out. Low temperature air goes to AC coil. It further reduced down. Now time to increase the temperature by means of reheating. And reheating is done by taking the whatever heat extracting from the incoming air using the evaporator section or pre-cool section. Same thing goes to the condenser section, and the heat is being added passively. We're not employing any kind of external work. So in this way, passively heat pipe heat exchanger could remove the your electricity part, and we have a system which can increase the RH as well as the temperature at a comfortable level. This is shown the schematic diagram. This same thing. This figure shown in the schematic diagram. This is a U-shaped heat pipe heat exchanger. This is the cooling coil. This is linked with the whole system. We have a compressor, condenser. This cooling coil is nothing but an evaporator. This is evaporator around. Okay, and this is the exchanger basically. And this cyclomatic chart shows that this is a pre-cool section. Whatever air coming inside it, that evaporator section or a pre-cool section of heat pipe takes the heat. Then we have a cooling coil. It lowers down the temperature and increase the RH. Then we have to reheat again in a reheat section, and 2 is the delivery point. Okay, the whole system is basically work passively, and this kind of system is very, very useful in the conditions where a lot of humidity is there. So all the major Gulf countries have this kind of system employed there to maintain the humidity. This is some of the schematics shown when we couple the heat pipe heat exchanger with the evaporative cooling system. Now, what is evaporative? Evaporative cooling system means your desert coolers basically. Those living in these areas, northern regions of India, they have very harsh summers, so most of the houses employ the desert coolers. This is what evaporative cooler is all about. So air which is coming outside air goes to the heat pipe heat exchanger, and the area to be cooled, maybe room. Return air coming from the room. This is a little bit a colder one, and there's the warmer one. It takes the heat from here, rejecting here, and in this process it cool down. And the cooling air goes to evaporator cooler. Earlier, let it be HPH is not there, so direct fresh air is coming from evaporator cooler. Now we have a cooled air. So by the way, energy could be saved. And after evaporator cooler goes to area to be cooled. The lower portion shown that if you have a AC, Again, thing system remains same, concept remains same, but now the HPHE, actually the air which is coming out of the HPHE, coming from the HPHE or through the HPHE, actually have the low temperature, and that AC works less, and we can save the energy. The right hand side show the all weather heat pipe heat exchanger air conditioner, and this is for summer as well as winter. It means both things actually club together. And this in a supply air coming from this side. Suppose we are in summer, and this is the heat pipe heat exchanger. It takes the heat from the supply air, injecting it here. By doing so, temperature goes down, goes to the cooling coil, be your evaporator or be your air conditioning cooling coil, further reduced, and goes to the room. Okay, and when the hint when it and when it winters, in winters, uh, the same portion will act as a condenser. In winters, what's happening? Incoming air is low temperature, and air which is coming from the room because of the habitants is little bit high temperature. So high temperature air coming from here, and it takes the heat from here. It rejects the heat here in condensation. Incoming air is colder one got heated up in this way and goes to heating coil. Now we have a heated air for the heating coil, and then the energy which is being used for the heating coil is a bit less one. This is the summer and winter both. Okay, so now same thing after explaining all the things, saying how heat pipe heat exchangers are being used in malls, operation theaters, and for hot and humid climates. Basically, hot and humid climate could be used for all normal ACs also, because actually uh, we have seen in these two diagrams. And normally we can also use it in a Delhi kind of regions also, in Haryana kind of regions also, because which saves it load on the incoming air temperature, so it can raise the further work. Okay, now this is the diagram taken from the net. Uh, it's in cars also. If we talk of that air conditioner, the HP Schultz designed the window AC, and that thing remains same in 1930s, 1937 or 40s. He designed it. This thing is for I think 45. It is still working up till now. Major portion, nothing changed in that. Same time era that air conditioning used on cars also. There we have a condenser. The four major things remains there. We have an evaporator, we have a condenser, we have a compressor, we have expansion valve. Here we have seen that the evaporator, which that air which is the blower actually which suck the air and goes to, and this throw this air to the this evaporator. It cool down the air. If we talk of a cooling purpose, and go and throw this air to the cabin. Okay, and this is the radiator which also act as a condenser. But your automobiles air conditioning system do the heating as well as cooling also. Let's see how both are done. This is the diagram which shown how cooling and heating is possible. This is the conventional automobile that run on a gasoline. We come to the electric vehicles also, electric part. In this, as this blue portion, this is the evaporator. Same thing happened. I explained to you. This is the condenser. We have a compressor. Okay, inside it is a refrigerant. Uh, uh, and then air which is thrown sucked from outside. If the outside mode, otherwise it recirculate the air from the cabin. It takes the air from the cabin and then goes to the evaporator coil. It cool down and send it back. Okay, this is what happening in the for the cooling purpose. Now in winters, what's happening? This red portion, the coolant which is being cooled for the radiators, that is being used. This thing shut off. This refrigerator is being shut off, and then that coolant being sent to the this heater part, and it is separate, and the air is being thrown by the blower and heated up and goes to the cabin of the car. Now, why I'm explaining these things? I'm explaining that the electric vehicle, the recent trend now is a rage all of the regions, India as well as abroad, everywhere. The point is that the technologies which were being developed, they are actually useful for the lay down the path for the new technologies. Here in this diagram, you see that red part is heater, which is for the heating purpose, and blue part for the cooling purposes. And we've seen that vapor compression cycle, how it is being used in air conditioners, and how heat pipe heat exchangers are using for the air conditioning systems for the energy consumption purposes. Okay, now we see how same thing could be used for the energy conservation, and how this this heating and cooling system which is being used in a gasoline-based automobiles is now put the path for the electric vehicles air conditioning system. So we have understood what I understood that heating could be done by the coolant, and cooling is done by the vapor compression cycle. Inside it is refrigerant, which you've seen earlier when we studied the air conditioning part. Okay. Now this diagram is again taken from the patent. And here, how heat pipe is used to heat up the cabin, basically in low temperature zone applications regions where your vehicle supplying. It takes the heat from the engine and it takes and carried somewhat backside, and then there's a fan there and heat the air and throw to the cabin. This is what heat pipe is used in buses as well as motor car. Normally, engine generates 20 to 35% energy, which is dissipated to the atmosphere in the form of exhaust loss. That is whole idea is to use that much energy for heating the cabin by using the heat pipe. This is the diagram of a exchanger where, again, it could be used to understand the concept, but this is also used for air preheating in the power plants also. In boilers, we normally heat up the incoming air to, so that if we send the heated air, we can reduce the fuel. And same thing in automobiles also. We have exchanger, we have a fresh air, and then we have engine exhaust. In a fresh After changing the heat, incoming air become hot and we send to the cabin. This is the diagram shows of a truck where heat is being incoming fresh air coming from here. This is the heat pipe heat exchanger, and engine exhaust, which is at high temperature. It is an exchanger. It takes the heat from engine exhaust. It heated the fresh incoming air. It goes to the cabin and heat up the cabin. This is normally the application in a cold regions where just like Canada, they have the electric heaters, but they are working along with that. They have electric heaters, but they also have a heat pipe heat exchangers for heat up the cabin. Now, what we are saying up till now, we have seen that heat pipe heat exchangers are being used predominantly to use the waste heat for the residential air conditioning, and then to use the waste heat to heat up the cabin in the cars. And these heat pipe heat exchangers or a heat pipe system could be used in an automobile in a big way. It can cool down the power electronics. Battery could be cooled. Later on, we see that in electric vehicles also heat pipes are being used. Fuel cell cooling, dashboard, engine cooling done, and the headlamps. Headlamps also cooled. So in major in some major big segments of the car, the heat pipes are being used in various areas. In some studies says that a heat pipe cooling effect on an instrumental panel. Suppose we cool down the instrumental panel, the windshield temperature reduces by 9 to 12 degrees Celsius. This reduced cabin air temperature is actually reduced up to 10 degrees Celsius, and this actually reduces the vehicle air conditioning. It can downsize the compressor by 25%. So this leads to the vehicle fuel economy, and it can increase the economy by 0.8 to 1.2 miles per gallon. So heat pipe could be used to cool down the powertrain, power electronics. You must have seen the seats also. In seats, they cool down the seats. Heat up the seats. Batteries cooling, fuel cell, dashboard, engine room, headlamps. So the energy which is being gasoline engines basically that otherwise wasted, 30% energy wasted in exhaust loss, that could be used for heating the cabin. Now comes out the electric vehicles. Electric up till now, whatever the story I told you, I try to explain things, air conditioning, how heat pipes are being used in air conditioners and heat pipes are being used in automobiles. Now we come to the electric vehicles. uh, the air conditioning part of electric vehicles is, surprisingly or helpingly for myself, in fact, is working on a heat pump. What is heat pump is all about? Again, using the same diagram which I shown you earlier, when I explained you the vapor compression reference cycle. Again, I'm explaining the same way. Here we have a evaporator. It's actually, if we talk of a refrigerator, this is the area where we cool down the bottles or milk, like that stuff. And then we have a compressor, and condenser is basically you must have heard in Godrej fridges, they have a black condenser backside, something like that. One can connect with that. Okay, and it rejects the heat. If you backside, you feel a hot air. Even in air conditioners, also window air conditioner, if you go to backside of the air conditioners, window AC, you feel a hot blast. Then we have this is what condenser, and then we have expansion valve. Now, what is heat pump? Heat pump actually is the system where if we want to do the cooling, it can do the cooling. Suppose what I want heating, it can do the heating. What it means? It means I'm explaining you the what heating does because I already explained you the cooling part. This is evaporator. In cooling part, when we were doing the air conditioning or a refrigerator part, when we were discussing that one, this evaporator part is actually facing the room or incumbents which is to be cooled. Okay, now when we talk of heat pump again, now heat pump is facing this condenser part is facing where we want to reject the heat. Earlier we want to extract the heat in the from the in the evaporator part, like in air conditioners or refrigerator primarily. That would be more easy to understand things. When we want to extract the heat, this evaporator part is facing more working. And when we want to heat up the system, say the room, then we have to face the room with a condenser part. Inside it, that circuit, we have a refrigerator. So again, working remains same. What's happening? The refrigerant is flowing. Refrigerant is a fluid which is kind of a heat carrier. It takes the heat. Uh, in evaporator, it takes the heat. It becomes vaporizes. That low pressure vapor goes to the compressor. Compressor increases the pressure. That high pressure evaporation goes to vapor refrigerant goes to condenser. It rejects the heat, to the atmosphere, and then liquid refrigerant goes to the expansion valve. It expands, pressure drops, and goes to the evaporator. Now, in fridges or refrigerators, that part, evaporator part, is a major one and rejects the heat to the atmosphere. But when we talk of a heat pump normally used where we both can be used, but heat pump is basically using cold climates where we want a heating. Earlier we have a conventional heaters, but heat pump is a kind of a system. We see how this is useful. The heat system is heat pump that is being employed in major electric vehicles air conditioning system. And this you faces the cabin or a room with a condenser. In this, whatever the heat is taken from the cold. In this, what is happening? Heat is being taken by the evaporator by means of a cold region. If you're able to understand, suppose some outs this whole system is actually in a room, and we are putting it in a room, and evaporator part is facing the outside area. Okay, and there a lot of snow is there. It takes the heat from there, and the refrigerant is charged at low pressure so that heat can be transferred. Okay, and it takes the heat from that snowy region. Now it becomes vaporizes and goes to compressor. Compressor, what it does? Compressor takes the energy from outside energy. In the form, in what form? In the form electricity. So we have two forms of energy, which one form of energy is coming from the snowy region, and one form of energy in the form of electricity. Two forms of energy is coming in, and other form of energy going to the room, which is to be heated up. This condenser rejects the heat to the room where we want to heat that room. So two forms of energy entering and one energy going in. Okay, cycle remains same. The cycle is what we see a cycle, vapor compression refrigeration cycle. But in heat pump, we have two forms of energy coming in and combined together and rejected to the room where we want to heat the room. Same thing happening in the your electric vehicles also, where we apply the heat pump. But how heat pump is a energy consumption device in this way that in this system we have energy coming from the snowy region and coming from electricity, two forms of energy coming in. Let's say we have a simple electric heaters. Okay, we just switch on the electricity, the energy is coming in, and the convection coil is heated up, and the fan is blowing from behind, we hot air. So if we assume that efficiency is 100%, so whatever's coming in means electricity, energy in the form of electricity, same is converted to thermal energy. When we heat here, we have a electricity as well as the energy, thermal energy is coming from the snowy region. So that is how the twice energies and two forms of energies entering the room, and this system is called energy consumption device. Now, this system is employed for the air conditioning part of the electric vehicles. Okay, so the heat pump is used. Why? Because why, let's get the answer of why also. Let us understand further. This is a block diagram, of a system, because in electric vehicles we know that let us discuss some parts from the gasoline engine as electric vehicles. In gasoline engines, normally most of the energy derived from the shaft, belt-driven compressors, okay, and directly affect the fuel efficiency of the car. Same way, but here, and we don't have a belt-driven compressors. We have the energy is derived directly from the your uh, your batteries directly. Okay, so howsoever the system is working efficiently, that affect the battery consumption and affect the performance of the car, the mileage of the car. Okay, so system has to be perform efficiently. We understand the system. This diagram, this block diagram, basically, in this we have a evaporator. This six state. And you start from six state. Your refrigerant at a vapor state at a low pressure goes to evaporator. It takes the heat from the region. It becomes vaporizes. Liquid refrigerant coming from its sixth stage and become vaporizes, takes the heat at state one, goes to the compressor. We not discuss this thing right now. This is what written. This is written that liquid suction heat exchanger. So heat, your vapor coming from the evaporator at state one, it goes to the compressor at three. It is compressor compresses the refrigerant, goes to the condenser rejects the heat. It becomes liquid, and this liquid refrigerant which was at high pressure now goes to the expansion valve via this heat exchanger. This hatchy line is called heat exchanger. Now, why this thing is employed here? We want to improve the system's efficiency. Means our system, heat pump, is a kind of air conditioning system, HVAC system for the vehicles. We want that system has to be very efficient. Efficient means it can less energy, and the definition of efficiency normally term used for the engines. But in air conditioning or refrigerators or for the cooling or heating purpose, we talk of air conditioning. We don't call efficiency. We call it COP, coefficient of performance. But the definition of coefficient performance and the efficiency remain same. It is what it is. It is energy sought for divided by energy that cost. So why do you want energy? That is the numerator. And what cost you, what bills you, that is the denominator. So here we want to improve the effectiveness. We want to increase higher cooling or a higher heating, but we want less work. We want less work. So these things can be explained in the pH diagram. It's a typical diagram used to understand the VCR cycle, vapor compression efficiency cycle. Our endeavor is to increase the coefficient of performance of the system or the efficiency of the system. Normally we call it coefficient performance, but we can say efficiency right now. Although efficiency is term used in engines, efficiency term not used in refrigerator air conditions applications. We use it COP, but definition remains same. But in engines, actually, what definition was? It's the energy sought for divided by energy that cost. In engines, sought for, we want mobility, long range, long power, and cost fuel. But in the air conditioners, we want a lot of cooling and electrical work if you want a home air conditioners. Okay, and here in automobiles, the power drawn from the your gasolines, your engines, or in batteries. In this case of electric vehicles. So we want to improve the system efficiency. How it is done? This is you're seeing here in a pH diagram. This 1 to 6. This 1 to 6. This four. If it is very light line actually. This vertical line actually. Let us call it A part for return this alphabet. 1 to A. 1 to A, actually 1 to A, or say 2 to A. No, it's 1 to A. Sorry, 1 to A. This is heat is extracted. If you want a cooling, suppose we want a cooling in some room, so heat is extracted. This 1 to A, and this 2 to 3 is actually the work input, which to be supplied, energy to be supplied or work or be used by the compressor to run. Okay, so H1 minus में HA, H is enthalpy, H1 minus my HA numerator divided by H3 minus my H2 is the in the denominator is what also COP. Okay, so how can we improve this system? We can improve the system by means of employing the subcooling part. What is subcooling? Subcooling is that the refrigerant which is coming out of the condenser, if you further cool down, you increase the your heat abstraction. How it is seen in this pH diagram. 1 to A is was the earlier version. Now, when we do the subcooling, we can increase it to 6 part. So we have a 1 to 6. So H1 minus my HA, earlier one is smaller than H1 minus my S6, but work input remains same. So it means that we can, for the same work input, we can have a higher cooling. So how this is done? In this diagram, is shown one such system is called a concept. It's called a liquid suction heat exchanger. What it does, it actually does that the refrigerant, which was at low temperature vapor refrigerant coming off at one state from the evaporator, goes to the compressor via this exchanger 1 to 2. It is at low temperature, and the liquid refrigerant, which is coming from the condenser, is at a high temperature, 4 to 5. So heat is being exchanged. So 1 to 2 and 4 to 5. So 4 to 5 heat loss, 1 to 2 heat gain. Okay. So this heat gain is shown this 1 to 2 in this diagram, and heat loss, that refrigerant coming from 4 to 5 is shown here 4 to 5. So since we already seen that 1 to H1 minus my HA is less than H1 minus H6, so we want to achieve this sixth stage. This is happening by means of subcooling. This is called subcooling. This is a pH diagram. This line is basically the saturated liquid line. If anything happened left of it, from my point of view, this is the subcooled part, and anything happened right hand side. This is the saturated vapor line. It's a superheating zone. So that's why it's called subcooled. So 4 to 5 is basically the subcooling, and that's how we increase the cooling effect. Okay, this is further and the further can be understood. If I'm able to write, I'm not able to write right now. But H1 minus my H6 divided by H3 minus my H2. If you compare it with H1 minus my HA by H2 minus my H2, this is a higher COP. And in this subcooling could be done by many ways. In this is shown by liquid suction heat exchanger. We can done using heat pipe heat exchanger. We already see earlier also that we have a heat pipe heat exchanger, a vertical one or a U-shaped one. Anything we can apply. We have seen earlier in earlier slides the vapor which is coming from the evaporator. This exchanges heat in the heat exchanger. Okay, and same is this takes the heat from this liquid refrigerant coming from condenser, and the vapor which is coming from evaporator takes the heat, and this way this 4 to 5 achieved in this section, 4 to 5 6, and 1 to 2 is achieved in the vapor which is coming from the evaporator. Okay, so other way also, if we imply thermoelectric, we can use thermoelectric if we cool down this 4 to 5 means thermoelectric way, and this system basically called dedicated mechanical subcooling. Dedicated mechanical subcooling. What is dedicated mechanical? We achieve this subcooling by employing one more Visa cycle. Visa cycle means we have a combination of evaporator, compressor, condenser, and expansion valve. Commonly four items, four contrivances. Okay. So this dedicated mechanical subcooling. This dedicated mechanical subcooling cycle could be named. If we have a thermoelectric, we have thermoelectric dedicated mechanical subcooling. If you have a heat pipe, you can use a heat pipe mechanical subcooling. Now, there's one interesting thing that heat pipe seen that where very technological oriented thing is used to improve the efficiency of a AC system of an automobile, which is basically a heat pump. That could be very well be tackled if we have a U shape, because U shape has a sleek structure and a single duct system. So it could be fixed in the vehicle very easily because space is a limitation. Okay. So now we see again that how this thermal management of electric vehicle. In this, we already seen that it's done by the heat pump. This thermal management is done for the cabin, battery, and electronics. We already seen earlier in earlier slides that heat pipes are being used to cool down the headlamps, power drain, your dashboard kind of structures, and the batteries. They're very well being used in cooling down the batteries and a cabin. Normally, the driver and the inhabitants. Here, the diagram which is again taken from the earlier slide. Here is not a system employed in a automobile electric vehicles basically, but in some time earlier, I told you in my slides that the reason for showing covering the automobile air conditioning system as a whole, because electric vehicles are being used earlier systems in a very big way. This is the this blue portion is the evaporator. This is the air which is blowing in, taken from the cabin. It could refrigerant is flowing inside. It taken out. It takes the air, cool down, and throw it back to the cabin. And this is a heater taken from the coolant. This is the earlier version, gasoline based engine. But in your electric vehicles, you don't have a this system of heater like this. We have a heat pump. Now, how it differ from this? In this, how it differ from the conventional air conditioning system for the automobiles, from the heat pump based systems for the electric vehicles. In heat pump based systems, electric vehicles, let us discuss the cooling part. The evaporator, it takes the cabin air, it cool down and throws back to the room. That's how we cool, and inside it there's a refrigerant. It's flowing inside the refrigerant. Okay, but this part is not there. Red part is not there. We already seen that we have a condenser. Here we have a small part. You can see that this red portion not linked with this radiator. Just imagine that it's a condenser. A part of the condenser is here, and somewhere backside of suitably put the condenser to exchange the heat. It's somewhere that your condenser is divided in two parts. This one part facing the cabin, other part exchanges the heat to the atmosphere. And this heat pump, what that same system could be worked as a for the cooling purpose, same purpose for the heating purpose. Let's see how. In this, right, working for the cooling purpose, it's okay. Refrigerant is flowing, we cool down. When we want a heating, then we have to employ the four-way valve. It reverses the refrigerant. Let us go back to this slide. In this, I'm not showing this four-way valve here. Let's say for cooling purpose, your evaporator is facing the cabin of the beneath the dashboard. Your blower is blowing the air over it. It cool down and goes to just still there showing goes to the cabin. Okay. Now when in the heating mode, uh, we just switch on the four-way valve. It reverses the refrigerant flow and this condenser, and then this become condenser. Okay, so this become a condenser and start doing heating the cabin. Okay, so this is what cabin is done. The battery cooling can be done by means of using a primary refrigerant or secondary refrigerant. Means the refrigerant which is flowing inside the circuit of a evaporator, condenser, compressor, expansion valve. That's called primary refrigerant. It cool down the water, and that water is flown to the battery circuit that cool down battery, and refrigerant may be used for battery as well as a cabin. Now this diagram, I got it from Itrani. This is hiding from my side. Okay, Itrani. This is a vapor compression heat pump system. Here also, here you see what I've told you, that this is the evaporator part. Okay, this is the cooling. Okay, and this is the condenser part. Condenser in two state, not two state. Sorry, condenser in two part. This part and this part. Okay, so back part takes the heat, rejects the heat, and when do the heating, is actually takes the heat from here and to the center of the cabin. Now, since heat pump is working on a vapor compression refrigerant cycle, so it based on a refrigerant, and luckily our electric vehicles have employing the latest global warming potential based refrigerants, which having very low global warming potential. You know that your ozone depletion, global warming is a huge buzzwords. So now it has been seen that R1234YF, whose global warming potential is 4, very low, but it has issues with the with the flammability, but people are being taken care of. 152A, whose global warming potential is 124, is being used. R290 means propane. Global warming potential 3 is being used. R600A is called isobutane. Its global warming potential is also 3, is also being used as a reference. There are several others also, combinations also. Okay, but these are the some, see, I got it from the literature. And the other systems also, uh, uh, for using the air conditioning of the electric vehicles, vapor absorption. Surprisingly, I came to know that vapor absorption system, they're using the this what vapor absorption does is actually in vapor compression we have a refrigerant which vaporizes and then condense and put the external work in vapor absorption. Normally we takes the exhaust heat, or say exhaust heat of a let's say gasoline engine or some diesel gen sets, but in this case we're using the heat generated from the batteries. That could be used to run the vapor absorption system that cool down the battery as well as the cooling of the system. But it is still in a incipient stage. Vapor absorption systems is being used for tested applications, but in electric vehicles, I've seen in some literature that vapor absorption system did apply. CO2 is R744. This is the name of the, this is the nomenclature of refrigerants. R744. It's a very CO2 systems are being used. It's a zero DP, almost one global warming potential. Say we got no global warming, because global warming potentials are being measured from the CO2 basis CO2. So these are being used. Transcritical cycles are being called transcritical VCR cycles being used in a heat pump, and then we have evaporative cooling for cooling down the batteries as well as your cabins. Then we have a solar assisted reckoning system on electric vehicles. We have a solar panels that gets energy from the sun. It charges up, and not only charged itself from the air conditioner, power drawn from these batteries, but it also charges the batteries also for electric vehicles. Then we have thermal energy storage systems for the air conditioning of electric vehicles. The PCM phase changing materials are being used, and then magnet-based systems, magnetic and thermoelectric systems are also being used in some of the electric vehicles. But surprisingly and thankfully, uh, heat pump-based systems are being used in electric vehicles in a very very big way. These technologies are being developed. Some companies are being using. Some are being developed, but they are not as popular as a heat pump-based system for the air conditioning of electric vehicles. Now here comes the end of the electric vehicles. I'm trying to summarize with my lecture in some of the few more important applications of the heat pipe. This is the application shown in a cold climate to storage the food purposes. Here the red part. This is a diagram showing that inside beneath the ground we have a food storage, and this is the heat pipes are being inserted. And this diagram shown that this is basically a kind of a low temperature zone or a ice or a permafrost. It takes the heat. Suppose ground temperature increases, so it affects also from down beneath side. So it takes the heat from around and rejects it to the atmosphere, and that's how it maintains the temperature of the whole zone. So that is how the cold zones they can save the food for longer times. Then lastly, this is although your electric vehicles branded as a pollution-less vehicles, but one can think of that when you make the things, everything is not energy is not coming wholly from the not a green energy. Basically drawn from the fossil fuels energy. So somehow they are actually releasing they do the global warming. Actually, we can say like this. Uh, so this is one artist rendition that how heat pipe could be used. Since I worked on a heat pipe, so I'm just glorifying the heat pipe. The how heat pipe is being used to reduce the global warming. In this, again, it's artist rendition. There is nothing happened up till now on the globe, but it can be done. It has a this is a 10 kilometer long heat pipe, and the diameter of heat pipe is 1 kilometer. There's a plasma rings around it, and there's a plasma inside, and heat is taken from the ground. And here on top side, a lot of panels are there. Again, there's secondary heat pipes and rejects the heat. It takes the heat from there and reject it above the air, 10 kilometer above the earth. So that's how means and I just the purpose of my showing is that heat pipe could be used for larger purposes also, starting from just for the satellite applications, then it's taken up by the nuclear reactors, then energy conservation for the in HVAC in a big way, power plants and automobiles are not separate. They are now, then now, because electric vehicles are more or less some kind of computers there, so you have to cool down things. To cool down things, and heat pumps are using cooling the laptops, your phones. So and if you want to improve the thermal efficiency of the cooling systems of the electric vehicles, you've seen that we can heat pipe could be employed, and heat pipe could be employed for the other parts also, that cooling the dashboards and cooling the heating the seats, cooling the batteries, cooling the lamps. Okay, so heat pipes, heat exchangers actually are being used all over, and then it's a very practical thing, and people are still working on it, and heat pipes are being used in a very big way in cooling down the batteries cooling. When I was collecting the information for that, so I've seen that heat pipes are used in the battery cooling. So in nutshell, you say that as I worked on a heat pipe, so heat pipe is a thing which could be applicable to all walks of life, all over the industries, in a very big way. And that's how I come to an end of this lecture.
Thank you very much, sir, for the detailed sessions on the refrigeration and different techniques in the air conditioning. So that was very much useful for the different perspective for the sustainable technologies in this area. And now the platform is open for all for the any questions and from the participants, please. Any participant, you may please unmute your mic and ask your question. Any question from the participants?
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, thank you very much for providing such a nice session regarding the use of heat pipe in thermal cooling in conventional as well as the electric vehicle. Sir, I want to know we can make a hybrid cooling system for EV, which is more efficient using a micro channel or something else.
Yes, actually, this thing is a very nice thing. They need to be incorporated. And nowadays, no technology, no sole technology could be a solution to a problem. Or say, let's say, problem is not a problem exactly, but that is the issue. So you have rightly raised the point that we have a multiple of technologies to answer our questions. So we can have heat pipes. Actually, we have micro channels could be used. It's basically a channels which we use in a closed container. Now we open thing, but it's in a combination way. You're rightly said, definitely.
Okay,
Means
sir.
means okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Any other question from the participants? I think there is no one, sir. If they will be having any query, then I will be sharing your
Thank you,
contact
Doctor.
details, email IDs with them.
Okay.
So, to formally close this session, sir, we sincerely thank you very much for sharing your valuable insights on the topic, for focusing on the sustainable technologies, and especially focus on the electric vehicles, and which is the theme also for this particular 6 days FTP. And we also extend our gratitude to all the participants for their active engagement and the interaction. Hope they have reflected on the knowledge shared by you and will be applying the same in their research and the practice also. So we are very much thankful to you, sir. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you,
sir.
Dr. Peter. Thank you all.
Thank,
I'm leaving.
thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So all participants are requested to please remain connected, and the next session will be starting at 8 p.m. So please be remaining connected on the platform. Thank you very much. The feedback link is shared, and I will be again sharing on the chat window. So hope all you have received. Kindly fill the feedback form. This is the same will be used for the attendance link as well, right? In case of any query, you may please message either on the chat window, or you may ask here as well. Please fill the feedback for the first session.
cái gì đó Am I audible? Preeti?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm sorry. So, because of traffic, I became late.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining in, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
So before formally starting the session, we welcome you on this platform for today's Atal FDP. And this is the 6 days FDP. We are having the 227 participants registered with us, and currently, I think more than 100 participants, 128 participants are here with us on this platform. So,
Okay.
for all the participants, it gives us great pleasure to welcome our distinguished expert, Professor Ujjwal Kala sir, Professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering at the National Institute of Technology, Delhi. Professor Kala is a renowned expert in the field of electric vehicle drives, digital control systems, and the power electronics, and brings with him a wealth of knowledge and experience in research, teaching, and practical implementation of sustainable mobility solutions. With extensive research experience, he has contributed to sustainable mobility solutions and actively works on the innovation and intellectual property, guiding patents and technology development. Sir is widely recognized for his academic excellence, practical insights, and promoting research that bridges the theory, application, and commercialization in the low power EV technologies. We are privileged to have him here to deliver the session on the topic implementation of digital control for low power EV drives. We welcome you, sir, and session is now handed over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very
Preeti.
much, sir.
So, today, I am searching for the option for screen share. Okay, okay. Now, my screen is visible to you?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. Okay. The presentation is also visible?
Yes, sir. I would request, sir, to please, yes, sir. It is
Okay.
visible, sir.
So, today's topic of my lecture is the implementation of digital control of low power EV drive, electric vehicle drive. So in drive means some kind of motion control system. Okay. Drive means motion control system. Motion control system means there will be some prime mover, some load will be there, some control will be there. Load means load is a mechanically designed, is a mechanically equipment, okay, so which is designed to accomplish some given task, okay, like fan blades are the loads, in electric vehicle wheels are the load, okay. So in a motion control system, so many important parameters are there. One of the most important parameter is the dynamic response, another one is the steady state response, okay. Mainly we can classify the electrical drives into two categories as far as electrical drives part is concerned: low power electric drive and high power electrical drives. Low power electrical drives means EV drives up to 1 kilowatt. All e-rickshaws, all EV scooters are low power electric drives. These drives uses PMBLDC motor, okay, that is a brushless DC motor, okay. So brushless DC motor, BLDC motor is of two types: PMBLDC motor and PMSM motor. Okay, permanent magnet synchronous motor. So for the electric vehicles having power rating more than 1 kilowatt, we always go for PMSM motor, power permanent magnet synchronous motor. In permanent magnet synchronous motor, the back EMF waveform is sinusoidal. Okay, and in this in PMSM, in PMBLDC means permanent magnet brushless DC motor, the back EMF is trapezoidal in nature. Okay, the shape of the back EMF waveform is trapezoidal. So there is a difference of back EMF wave shape, and this difference arises because of the distribution of the winding in the motor. Okay, so if you want sinusoidal back EMF, then you have to distribute the windings in that motor sinusoidally. Okay, but in trapezoidal feedback back EMF based motor, we have lumped winding. Okay, so usually we use 4-pole motors. Okay, and we use inverters in all electric vehicles in which we use permanent magnet motor BLDC motors. We have to have a inverter to operate that motor. Okay, that inverter is called drive. The inverter along with the controller is called drive. Basically, drive is the name of system. Drive means there should be some motor, there should be some load, there should be some converter, and there should be some controller. Okay, so if all these components are there, then that system is called electric vehicle drive system. Okay, so in this electrical vehicle drive system, important thing is the type of motor. For low power application, we up to 1 kilowatt. All electric EV rickshaws are having 1 kilowatt motor. Okay, so usually these motors are imported from China in India. Okay, and there are 3-4 big importers in India. They are selling all these motors to all these e-rickshaw manufacturers in India. CY Gold is one of the biggest manufacturer, distributor for these motors. Okay, in Delhi. So because magnets are available in China, that is why the cost of the PMBLDC motor in China are very low. Okay, so but some people are importing those magnets and all parts of those motors, and they are also assembling those motors in India. Okay, these motors require some kind of power inverter. Okay, power electronic inverter for their operation. That is why these motors comes under the special machine category. Okay, so mainly we can classify the motors in two categories, especially design machines, special machines, and conventional machines. Conventional machine means AC machine or DC machine, means which can be operated, AC machine which can be operated by conventional AC supply. Okay, you don't require any kind of inverter converter system for the operation of that induction motor. Suppose if you have a fan, you don't require any kind of inverter or converter or any kind of controller for the operation of the fan. Okay, just you give supply of AC voltage to 30 volt to fan and it will start running. But you may not operate the PMBLDC motor, means EV motor, in the same way. For EV motor, for the operation of EV motor, you have to have an inverter, okay, for feeding supply to that motor. That is why these EV motors are called special machines. Okay, special machines category machine. So we have one inverter. Okay, now topic is the digital implementation of electric vehicle system. So how to implement this control in a digital manner? For any control algorithm, we may have analog controller platform or we may also have digital control platform. Okay, so any scheme, all the mathematical calculation can be performed by analog controls also, which are based on op-amps. Okay, and you can also implement the same control using digital platform, using DSP controllers or microcontrollers. Okay, DSP controller are also the microcontrollers, but they are having high computational power. So those controllers are known as DSP controllers. So most of the participants are from electrical side or some other side? I want to know.
It's a mix of both electrical and mechanical both, sir.
How many are from electrical? Almost 20%, 40%?
Sir, 60% are from the electrical domain, sir.
Okay.
And other the mechanical and the electronics domain also we have.
Okay, they are faculty people or industry people?
Faculty members are there, sir, and
Hmm.
some of are the PG scholars as well.
Okay, okay, okay. So see, for PMBLDC motor control, we have to have an inverter. Inverter is a power electronic converter which convert DC power into AC power. That is called inverter. Any power electronic circuit which convert DC power into AC power is called inverter, and this inverter is used to operate this PMBL-DC motor. The same scheme is also used in fridge and air conditioner. That is why the manufacturer write on the ACs inverter AC, inverter fridge. Okay, basically they have to have inverter with that because of they are using BLDC motor. Earlier they were using induction motor that doesn't require any kind of inverter, but BLDC motors require some power electronic inverter for their operation. So those drives are called PMBLDC drives. But the efficiency of these brushless DC motors are quite high. These motors are available up to 90 to 95% efficiency, whereas conventional induction motors are having efficiency up to 60 to 65% only. So there is a benefit of almost 30% efficiency that really does matter so much. So that is why all the electric vehicles are using brushless DC motor, permanent magnet brushless DC motor instead of induction motors. Okay. Although induction motor don't require any kind of power electronic inverter for their operation, PMBL DC motor requires some inverter. Okay. But even then, the overall efficiency of the PMBL DC motors are 30% more than the conventional induction motor drives. Okay. But in PMBLDC motor, we require one inverter, and in inverter is three-leg inverter. Three-leg inverter means it has 6 IGBTs. Okay, so we have to revise the switching sequence of all 6 IGBTs in every sampling time during the digital implementation of the control. Here we are using a DC-DC converter at the input DC side of the inverter. So inverter always has two sides, AC side and DC side. At AC side, one PMBLDC motor is connected. At DC side, a DC-DC converter is connected. Okay, here. So this DC-DC converter, which is connected at the DC side of this inverter, is used to vary the DC link voltage of this inverter. So by varying the DC link voltage of this inverter, we can vary the speed of this PMBLDC motor drive. Because of in case of PMBLDC motor drive, the speed of the motor is directly proportional to the DC link voltage of the inverter. So there are two methods for varying the speed of this PMBLDC motor drive. Either we can vary this speed by varying the DC bus voltage. Okay. Second method is by the PWM switching of these switches. Okay. Suppose there are three-phase winding in PMBLDC motor. We are giving supply to one winding for 10 milliseconds, another winding for next 10 milliseconds, third winding we are giving supply for next 10 milliseconds. So during that 10 milliseconds, if current is continuous, then we have to have changed the DC link voltage for the speed variation. But if we are supplying the PWM pulses, means PWM control pulses during that 10 millisecond operation, then it is called PWM controlled BLDC motor. Okay, then it doesn't call DC link voltage control method. In DC link voltage control method, the switching frequency of these switches, IGBT switches of the inverter is significantly reduced to the fundamental switching frequency only. Okay, so that is why the switching losses in these 6 switches are significantly reduced. Okay, but somehow by supplying the PWM pulses to these switches, we can also control the speed of this PMBLDC motor drive. Okay, then now in this scheme, we are having one DC-DC converter at the DC bus of this inverter. Okay, so by varying the output DC voltage of this inverter, we can vary the speed of this PMBLDC motor. So, but conventionally, okay, commercially we are having only AC supply. Okay, we don't have DC power. conventionally. So commercially we are having AC supply. So we convert the AC supply into DC supply by using a rectifier. Okay. By using this rectifier, we are converting that AC into DC, and we are operating this DC-DC converter in PFC mode, power factor corrected mode. Okay. Power factor corrected mode means we are not connecting a filter capacitor in the output of this rectifier. That is very important. That makes a large difference. Okay. So if you will connect a DC bus capacitor in the output of this rectifier, the power factor of this system will become almost 0.2. Okay, so it will significantly affect to the power factor. Okay, and power factor will become very poor. Okay, and the source side, the system will also demand a large amount of reactive power from the source. Okay, to avoid the poor power factor operation of the system, we are using power factor correction control method here. Okay, so we are operating this switch SWT in such a way that this converter is taking perfectly sinusoidal current from the source. Okay, so this overall system is operate like a linear load. Okay, what is the difference between linear load and non-linear load? Linear loads always take sinusoidal current from the sinusoidal voltage source. Okay, and non-linear currents, non-linear loads takes non-sinusoidal current from a sinusoidal source. So any load which demands a non-sinusoidal current from a sinusoidal voltage source comes under the non-linear load category. So here this system is perfectly linear, so it will not inject any kind of harmonics at the source side. Okay. Now, what is the need of digital control? The digital control is required to control the operation of these 7 switches. In this scheme, we are having 7 switches. 6 switches we are having in the inverter and 1 switch in this DC-DC converter. For this DC-DC converter, we will have a separate algorithm. Okay, that is a feedback, taking feedback from the DC bus voltage and the speed of the motor. Okay, so the speed of the motor is being controlled using this DC link voltage, means by controlling the switching of this SWT, that is the IGBT switch used in this DC-DC converter. So using this switch SWT, okay, we can control the speed of this motor. Okay, so here only this switch will operate in high frequency. This switch of DC-DC converter will operate in high frequency mode of operation, and remaining switches of the inverter will operate in low frequency mode of operation. So the high switching loss will occur in this DC-DC converter, one switch only. In remaining 6 switches, the losses will be very less. Okay, that is the advantage of this DC link control of this low power EV drive. Now we required the controller for controlling the switching operation of 7 switches, 6 switches from the inverter side. Okay, this SA1, SB1, SC1, SA2, SB2, and SC2. Sorry. So we are controlling the operation of these 7 switches using this digital controller. Okay. So how we can decide the switching sequence of these switches? Okay. Who will decide? The main control operation is being performed by the DC-DC controller. Okay. Because of mainly the motor speed is being controlled by this DC-DC converter. So the switching operation of this SWT, okay, that is the IGBT switch, okay, used in this DC-DC converter is more important. And the operation of switching operation of the 6 IGBT switches used in inverter will have a perfectly predetermined sequence of switching. Okay, that is called electronic commutation. Okay, so switching sequence of the inverter switches, 6 switches of the inverter, will be determined by the feedback signal sent by the position sensors of the BLDC motor drive. Okay, so there is a one rotor in this PMBLDC motor drive. Okay, so the position of the rotor will decide the switching sequence of the switches of the inverter. Okay, so if current is being supplied to one winding, okay, and rotor is rotating, so after some particular angle, we switch the current from one winding to another winding. That is called commutation. Okay, so during this commutation, the current transient and voltage transient should be as minimum as possible in order to reduce the switching transient in the current and voltage during this commutation. Commutation means switching of current from one winding to another winding of the BLDC motor. So during this switching action, in order to reduce the current and voltage switching transient, we use Hall effect position sensors based control system. Okay, so these Hall effect position sensors provide the exact location of the rotor in the motor, okay, to this controller. Okay, so at particular position of that rotor, the switching current becomes almost zero. So we always switch the winding current from one winding to another winding at that point of operation only, at that moment only. Okay, so the information feedback signal given by these Hall effect position sensors are very important in the system. Okay, so these Hall effect sensors are continuously giving position of the rotor in the motor. Okay, the based on the position feedback given by these Hall sensors, this electronic commutation circuit, okay, which is a well established system, okay, it decides the switching sequence of these 6 switches. Okay, now how we are controlling the speed? Because of the motor speed is directly proportional to the DC link voltage. So by simply by varying the DC link voltage, we can vary the speed of the motor. Say the DC link voltage varies from 0 volt to 300 volt, and motor speed is varies from 0 to 1500 RPM. So at 300 volt DC link voltage, RPM will be 1500. Okay. So at 150 volt, RPM will be 1500. Okay. So at 50% of the DC link voltage, the speed of the motor will be 50%. At 10% of the DC link voltage, motor speed will be 10%. At 100% of the DC bus voltage, the speed will be 100%. Okay. So that is exactly directly proportional to the DC bus voltage. Okay. So how we can vary the DC bus voltage? By controlling the duty cycle of this switch. Okay. So you can say this is so simple. No, this is not so simple, because of this switch is not only varying the DC bus voltage, it is also ensuring the sinusoidal input current from the source, means power factor corrected operation. So this switch is the switch SWT, okay, this DC-DC converter switch. It is performing two functions simultaneously. One function is also, it is controlling the DC bus voltage, means by controlling the DC bus voltage, it is controlling the speed of the motor. At the same time, it is also ensuring the sinusoidal input current from the source. Okay, that is called PFC operation. Both the operations are being simultaneously performed using by this switch. So we don't require to measure the speed in this motor. Why we don't require to measure the speed of this motor? Because of we already knows if DC link voltage is 50%, then speed will be 50%. If DC link voltage is 10%, then speed will also be 10%. Because of speed is directly proportional. So need not to measure the speed of the motor in this system. You don't require any kind of tachometer or any other speed sensor in this system, because of we already knows that the DC bus voltage of this inverter will indirectly represent the speed of the motor. So for the speed control in this system, we use this DC bus voltage of the inverter as a feedback signal. Okay, because of this DC bus voltage is a measure of the speed of EV drive. Okay, By varying this DC bus voltage, here we are controlling the speed. So we are using this DC bus voltage feedback as a speed signal in this system. So this V2 naught, VT naught is a DC bus voltage which is acting like a speed signal in this system, and which is compared with the reference voltage generator. Reference voltage generator is speed reference. Okay, so we are taking this DC bus voltage of the inverter as a speed signal, and we are comparing that DC bus voltage with some reference voltage. Reference voltage means that is the rated voltage. Say rated voltage 1500 volt. So DC bus voltage corresponding to 1500 volt is 300 volt. Okay. So then reference signal will be 300 volt for 1500 RPM. Okay. So whatever speed we require, we set accordingly the reference voltage. Okay. So based on the reference voltage setting, this reference voltage will be compared with the actual DC bus voltage, and an error of VE signal will be generated. How will generate the error signal? We'll compare the DC bus voltage of the inverter with a reference DC voltage. Reference DC voltage is nothing but a DC source. Reference DC voltage generator is nothing but a, basically you may use some battery here, you may use some regulated DC power supply. Okay, so some DC voltage is there. So if you will vary this DC reference voltage, then the speed of the motor will vary. Okay. So basically this reference voltage generator is the DC bus voltage, okay, which determine the speed of this motor. So this voltage is compared with the actual DC link voltage of this inverter. So the difference of these two is called error signal. Difference of these two voltages is called error signal. Then this error signal is processed through some PI controller. This PI control may be replaced by some sliding mode control. Okay. Okay. Or it may be neural network control. It may be AI based control. Okay. So there are different type of control. Thousands of control have been reported here. So PI control is one of the most basic controller, but is very effective. The steady state error in this controller is almost zero. But the limitation of this controller is the overshoot or undershoot. Okay. So if suppose if you are using this drive in a drone system, and if it will take an overshoot, either your drone will go to very high heights, or it will come down to it may also come down to the earth. So the tuning of the PI controller is very, very important. If this tuning of this controller is not proper, your system may lose the control, because of the stability of the whole system depends on the tuning of this PI controller. If there is sliding mode controller, then that also requires some tuning. All the controller require some tuning. Okay. So if your controller is not properly tuned, in that case, your system may lose the stability. Okay. Like whatever happened in Dubai also. So this PI is a error processing unit. Okay, which is also known as controller. Okay, ये पूरा भी controller है, but the basic controller is the PI controller. Controller is a section which process the error in the system. It process the error in the system. PI means proportional and integral controller. It may also be PID, proportional, integral, and derivative controller. So derivative controllers are always avoided in all EV systems, even in all power electronic system, unless and until it is not essentially required. We never use derivative controller. Okay, it is very risky. If your controller is not properly shielded against the electromagnetic signals and other electrostatic signal or any kind of other signals, so then your controller may take some false decision. because of that derivative controller. So the derivative controller has the impulsive nature. जैसा किसी को गुस्सा आया गोली चला दिया. Okay. Because of it operates on the basis of slope of the error. Okay. Even if it will receive some spurious signal, okay, कहीं से वैसे भी कुछ भी सिग्नल मिल गया गलती से भी error signal मिल गया, so it will act accordingly. Okay, so it may create problem for the system. So that is why we always avoid the use of derivative controller in all type of electric vehicles. Okay, we use PI controller, and PI control is more than sufficient for any type of study, for removing any type of steady state or dynamic error. So after processing this error through PI controller, we give that error to the reference current generation. Okay. So this reference current generator is taking the feedback of the source voltage. So this reference current generator is taking the sample of the source voltage in order to ensure that the shape of the current drawn by this system should be exactly similar to the source voltage waveform. Means if source voltage is sinusoidal, then current should also be sinusoidal. Okay. So to ensure the sinusoidality of the input current of the system, we are using this reference current generator block. How it is ensuring the sinusoidality of the input current? It is using a unit template of the source voltage. Source voltage का जैसा shape होता है ना, उसके अंदर से वो क्या करता है? What it do? It divides the source voltage with its peak value. Okay, so then it will become 1 volt signal. Okay, if you will divide any signal from its peak value, then it will become 1 volt signal. That is called unit template. Okay, so it will take the unit template of the source voltage and it will multiply that unit template of the voltage with this error. Okay, and after this multiplication, we will get the final signal. Okay, and that final signal is used to generate the PWM pulses, and those PWM pulses are sent to the SWT switch. SWT switch is the switch of DC-DC converter, okay, which is placed in this DC-DC converter at the DC bus of this system. So all these control blocks are performing their operation through the mathematics. In this scheme, we are not using analog controls. So we are not using any op-amp ICs. Okay. So we'll convert all these operations into mathematical equations and we'll dump those equations into a controller, microcontroller, DSP controller. Okay. If you require very powerful controller, fast operation, okay, better resolution, then you have to go for DSP controller. Okay. अगर कुछ ऐसे ही काम चलाना है, तो you can use microcontrollers. The difference is only the mathematical calculation capability. Okay. The cost of any controller depends on its mathematical calculation capabilities. As the mathematical calculation capability requirement increases, the cost of the controller increases. So now how you can reduce the cost of the controller? By simplifying your control algorithm. Okay. Suppose if you are having a PI controller with 100 equations, okay, so you can optimize your controller, okay, and you can reduce the number of equations in your system, control system. Okay, so by reducing the number of equation, number of mathematical operation in your system, you can reduce the cost of the controller. Now all these blocks are dumped into some digital controller, DSP controller. So here the main topic is how to implement this control. How to implement this control. So now what are the basic building blocks of this scheme? Is the rectifier. Okay. So that is hardware. You may not dump this hardware into any digital controller. You have to have this diode bridge rectifier. Okay, so then you have to have this DC-DC converter. All these inductor you need physically. These inductor, capacitor, diode, this IGBT switch, everything you require physically. This inverter is also required physically. You also require this motor physically. Okay, so what you can dump into the digital controller, that is these actions, these mathematical actions, okay, that can be performed using that digital controller. Okay, so how digital controller works? Okay, how digital controller works? Digital controller or DSP controller always have one A to D converter section. A to D converter section analog to digital control section. यानी कि जो signal है, the original signals are always analog signals, because the motor will give analog signal, sensor will give analog signal. You have to control those signal into digital. Initially, no motor gives analog signal, so digital signal. That always gives analog signal. By using some means, we convert that analog into digital using sampling and node theorem. Okay. So in all controller, input section is always A to D converter. A to D converter means analog to digital converter. Okay. So what is the use of this analog to digital converter? So that is very important section that converts the analog signal into equivalent digital signals. Okay. How many analog to digital converter you require in a controller? That depends on the input variable of your system. Suppose मेरे को इसकी स्पीड कंट्रोल करनी है, so input variable is only DC link voltage. Here input variable is only DC link voltage, so I have only one input variable. I have only one input variable, so I require only one ADC channel in a controller. I require only one ADC channel for this. For controlling this DC-DC converter, I require only one ADC channel. But here we are having 3 Hall effect sensors, position sensors. So they will also give their input to the controller. तो आपको हॉल इफेक्ट सेंसर से भी इनपुट कहां भेजना पड़ेगा? कंट्रोलर में भेजना पड़ेगा. तो 3 सिग्नल आपके हॉल इफेक्ट से आ रहे हैं, तो आपको हर सैंपलिंग टाइम में उसकी सूचना आपको कंट्रोलर को देनी है. तो जो जो सूचना कंट्रोलर को देनी होती है वो सब इनपुट वेरिएबल्स कहलाते हैं. ओके, so all the input signals which are being sent to the controller for its operation or are known as input variables. Are known as input variables. इन सबको input variables कहते हैं. And the number of required ADC channel in any controller depends on these input variables. So if in this case I have 3 input variable from this Hall effect sensors, I require 3 input variables are coming from the Hall effect position sensor, and one variable is coming from this DC-DC converter. Okay, so I require 4 ADC channels, okay, for this control. So I require a microcontroller or DSP controller which is having 4 ADC channels. Okay, in that way I can decide the requirement of the controller. Okay, so as I will increase the number of ADC channel, as I will increase the number of ADC channel in any controller, the cost of that controller will increase. Okay, usually the minimum ADC channel of any converter, any controller are 8. Usually all the controllers are available with 8 ADC channels. Okay, so now if you increase the number of ADC channels, so the cost of that controller will increase. One thing. So the number of ADC channel in any controller for digital implementation will determine the cost. Okay, one thing. Second thing, the most important thing is the mathematical calculation capability of the controller. Mathematical calculation capability of the controller, that is decided by the technology of that controller. If that is DSP based controller, that definitely it will have higher calculation capability. If that is the only simple microcontroller, then it will have less mathematical calculation capabilities. Some controllers are having master and slave controllers. So they are using two controllers within a controller. They are using two controllers within a controller. One is the master controller, another is a slave controller. Okay. In that case, the calculation capability of that controller is significantly increased. Like suppose if you want to fire a missile, then you require at least two controllers. One is master and slave, another slave. Okay. So the mathematical calculation capability of the DSP controller, digital controller, is the another factor which determine the cost of that controller. Okay. So if the mathematical calculation capability is high, then the dynamic response and steady state response of the control will be better. Means the performance will improve. Definitely performance will be improve if the calculation capability increases. Okay. But we use the controller with optimum capability, with the optimum mathematical calculation capability. किसी को बहुत ज्यादा मतलब एक हमारे को रिसिप्ट डिस्पैच में क्लर्क बिठाना है तो उसको बहुत ज्यादा मैथमेटिक्स पढ़ा के बिठाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं. वी डोंट रिक्वायर कि बहुत ज्यादा इंटेलिजेंट आदमी हो जिसको पूरा फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री मैथ आता हो. उसी को डिस्पैच में तो क्या है, रिसिप्ट में नंबर चढ़ाना है, डिस्पैच को देना है, तो कुछ नहीं करना है. तो डिपेंड करता है उसको कैलकुलेशन कैपेबिलिटी का रिक्वायरमेंट कितना है. सो द कैलकुलेशन mathematical calculation capability requirement of the controller is another very important factor which determine the cost of the controller. So if you want to reduce the cost of the controller in a system, that in turn will also reduce the cost of the system, overall system. So for reducing the cost, you should reduce the calculation burden of the algorithm. Okay. So the PI controller can be implemented by hundreds of methods. Okay. By hundreds of methods, you can implement the PI controller. Okay. So you can simplify the mathematical equations of your control. Okay. In order to reduce the mathematical calculation requirement of your controller. If you want to reduce the cost, आप कम करना चाहते हो, तो जो कंट्रोल की इक्वेशंस है उनको थोड़ा सिंप्लीफाई कर दीजिए. सिंप्लीफाई करेंगे तो कैलकुलेशन रिक्वायरमेंट कम हो जाएगी. कम हो जाएगा तो आपको सस्ता कंट्रोलर भी काम कर जाएगा, सेम रिस्पॉन्स दे देगा. फॉर द सेम रिस्पॉन्स यू कैन यूज द लो एंड माइक्रो कंट्रोलर, डीएसपी कंट्रोलर. So one important factor was the ADC channel. Second was the calculation capability. Okay. Now all these digital controllers operates on sample and hold theorem. On the basis of sample and hold theorem. For how much time it will hold the same data, that is decided by the sampling time. So sampling time in any digital control implementation is a very, very important parameter. Because of this sampling time will decide the quality of your control. Sampling time will decide the quality of your control. The sampling time in any digital control should be as minimum as possible. Sampling time should be as minimum as possible. But then I will say the sampling time usually it is of the order of microseconds. Okay. So usually I have implemented so many schemes in digital controls. So usually my sampling time varies from 1 microsecond to 80 microsecond or 100 microsecond. Okay. So I will try to keep the sampling time of 1 nanosecond. But I require to pay lot of money for the controller in that case. The cost of the controller will become very high. But my customer will not pay that cost. So I have to reducing the cost, I have to use lower end controller. Okay. So for the same controller, how I can improve the system performance? For the same controller, I can improve the system performance by optimizing the mathematical equations of my system. So the mathematical modeling of the control blocks is the most important thing in the implementation of any automatic digital control of EV drives. Not only in the EV drives, in all type of digital control, in all type, all these things are applicable to all type of digital control, not only to this low power EV drive. All these things are equally applicable in high power drives. These are also applicable in all different type of controllers, converters, everywhere in all digital system. These things is common. Okay, so by uh, optimizing the equations, we can reduce the cost of the converter with the same performance. Okay, so suppose sampling time is a 40 microsecond. Okay, so if I set for sampling time of 40 microsecond, then in 20 millisecond cycle, usually we use 50 hertz system. 50 hertz system means one cycle will be of 20 millisecond. So in 120 millisecond cycle, we can take sample 500 times. We can take 500 samples in one cycle time of 20 millisecond. Okay. So if I am controlling the speed, then what will be the resolution of that speed control? 0.01%. Is it? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
डॉक्टर प्रीति, आप मुझे कितना टाइम दे सकते हैं? और कुछ टाइम दे सकते हैं? मेरा टाइम तो नहीं हो गया?
सर प्लीज आप ले सकते हैं सर.
मतलब 10 मिनट में, 5-7-10 मिनट में क्लोज कर सकता हूँ?
यस सर, बिल्कुल सर.
Okay. So suppose if I set 40 microsecond sampling time, so then after every 40 microsecond, all the ADC channels of the controller will become open. ADC channels behaves like a gate. ऐसा होता है कि एक घर के अंदर सपोज 8 ADC चैनल है, यानी 8 गेट हैं, तो 8 गेट जिस समय ओपन होंगे, so at the moment those ADC channel will be opened, whatever the instantaneous value of the signal will be present at that pin will be taken as an input to the controller. मतलब जिस मोमेंट पे वो ओपन होगा एडीसी चैनल, वहां पे जितना भी वोल्टेज होगा उसको एज ए इनपुट सिग्नल वो ले लेगा और तुरंत बंद कर देगा. एडीसी चैनल एक बार खुलता है और इमीडिएटली बंद हो जाता है, बहुत जल्दी. तो सपोज if 40 microsecond is sampling time, so in first microsecond duration it will take the sample from the ADC channels, and similar way it will take the input signal from all the ADC channels. जितना भी input variables हैं वो सारे ADC channel पे जुड़े हुए होंगे. उन सारे input variables को ADC channel के थ्रू सारे ADC channel के गेट एक साथ खुलते हैं और उस मोमेंट पे जो वैल्यू होती है वो सारी की सारी वैल्यू अंदर ले लेते हैं कंट्रोलर और गेट सारे बंद हो जाते हैं. अब जो वेरिएबल का जो वैल्यू आ गया है आपको, सो दैट कंट्रोलर नाउ execute the control algorithm based on the input values, the values of the input variables received from the ADC channel during that sampling time. हर sampling time में अलग अलग चलता है. So during that sampling time, now it will execute those, it will work on the input received from the ADC channels. Okay. Now it will put all these values in the equation. Whatever input variable values it will receive from the different ADC channel, it will put those values into the equations of the algorithm, and it will start execute the whole algorithm. Means it will execute all the equations. इसमें जितना कंट्रोल में इक्वेशन है वो सारे को execute करेगा वो. And if the sampling time is 40 microsecond, so then controller is supposed to execute all the equations, means it is required to solve all the equations before 40 microsecond, well before 40 microsecond, means within 35 or 36 microsecond. अगर 40 माइक्रोसेकंड का सैंपलिंग टाइम है तो 35 माइक्रोसेकंड में ही वो सारी इक्वेशन सॉल्व कर लेता है. 4-5 माइक्रोसेकंड का टाइम बचा के रखता है अपने पास. एंड जैसा ही 40 माइक्रोसेकंड कंप्लीट होता है, इमीडिएटली दैट रिलीज ऑल दी सिग्नल. जो डिसीजन आया है, जो कंट्रोल एल्गोरिथम से जो डिसीजन आया लास्ट में, वो आउटपुट पिन्स पे आ जाता है. दैट गिव्स all the decision on the output pins of the DSP controller, digital controller. हर digital controller में, DSP controller में output pin होता है. Output pin पे decision आता है. ओके, एडीसी पिन पे इनपुट दिया जाता है, आईओ पिन बोलते हैं उसको, इनपुट आउटपुट पिन. जो एडीसी पिन आउटपुट पिन होते हैं उन पे डिसीजन आ जाता है. ओके, ऑन दो दैट आउटपुट पिन means signal received at the output pin are fed to the IGBTs. Okay, through the optocoupler. थ्रू दी ऑप्टोकपलर. ऑप्टोकपलर के थ्रू क्या करते हैं, इनको सिग्नल्स देते हैं इन सभी स्विचेस को, ताकि if there is any fault occur at the power circuit side, that same fault will not be transferred to the controller part. So in order to protect the controller from the high power threat, we always use some optical isolation circuit, means optocoupler circuits between the controller and the power converter circuit. Okay, and in this way this whole system works, and this control is digitally implemented in EV drives. Now you can ask any question regarding this topic. You can also ask any question related to power electronics or digital implementation. You can also ask any question related to analog control, or if you have any laboratory problem, you can ask any question related to electrical engineering, electronics engineering.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, please.
Sir, I thank you for giving the inside knowledge. You mentioned, sir, generally we consider PI over PID.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we are taking critical closed loop in EV, like let's suppose, sir, we are taking feedback of air suspension in closed loop. That time, generally, which research paper I have gone through, they consider PID only, sir. Why?
No. They don't understand about the control. So they are very beginners. They don't understand. They have not practically implemented. So it is very difficult to implement the PID controller. In such system, PI controller is more than sufficient. Even in some cases, only P controller is sufficient. With the P controller, I achieved almost 99.99% accuracy. Are you getting my point? Suppose if I want to maintain a 400 volt DC link voltage, using only proportional controller, I may maintain up to 398 volt. Okay, so by introducing this integral control, the voltage exactly 400 voltage will be maintained. But you never require derivative control in such systems. You should avoid the use of derivative control unless and until it is not very much essentially required. So in such system we don't require that. Usually ये वो कहाँ पे लगाते हैं, जहाँ पे सपोज आपको कहीं जो है ये मिसाइल ट्रैकिंग वगैरह में जब काम में लेना हो, जहाँ पे लोकेशन बहुत तेजी से बदल रहा हो ऑब्जेक्ट का. Are you getting a point? If the location of the object is being changed continuously and at very faster rate, in such cases, sometimes we require derivative control. But if you implement that control, you have to have a very high quality EMI and EMC suppressors. You have to protect your system from the interference signals. Otherwise, वो आपको बहुत प्रॉब्लम कर सकता है. Are you satisfied?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we don't require that.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, here you have used PWM current controller. So
Yeah.
pulse width modulation control, sir. So what is the role of this PWM in this your drive system?
This PWM means that is making on and off to the switch. PWM means pulse width modulation. Okay. So this PWM is performing two operations simultaneously. One, it is varying the DC bus voltage in order to regulate the speed of the motor.
Okay.
एक इसका ऑपरेशन तो ये है कि ये इसकी मोटर की स्पीड को कंट्रोल कर रहा है. The another operation it performing is and it is ensuring the sinusoidal source current. The shape of the current being drawn from the source is perfectly sinusoidal.
Okay,
ये
sir.
दोनों काम एक साथ कर रहा है.
Okay, sir. So, sir, it has some interval time also, like for how much duration it will remain on or off. Yeah, it will be same as the controller sampling time.
In any every sampling time, it will vary the width. In every sampling time, it will not maintain any regular pattern for the switching. If it will maintain the regular pattern, then it will not be able to control the system. Are you getting your point? The duty cycle of this pulse width will vary in every sampling time. Suppose if sampling time is 40 microseconds, so after every 40 microseconds, this width will be changed in order to achieve both the objectives.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the participants, please?
If you have any problem in your industry related to analog control, digital control, EVs, motors, in electrical engineering, power electronics, you can ask any question related to analog control, digital control. If you have any problem in real-time implementation of any system, you can ask me. I spent almost 15 years of my life in the laboratory.
So one question is from Mr. Rangaraj. How can we
Pardon?
algorithms?
How we can? How can
How
we?
can optimize battery life in low
No,
advanced?
actually, your voice is not clear. Actually.
Is it audible now, sir?
Yeah. Now it's audible.
Now, how can we optimize battery life in low power EVs through advanced BMS algorithms?
Advanced?
BMS, battery management system
Battery.
algorithm.
Please again repeat. आपका कुछ आवाज कट जा रहा है.
Okay. Just
फिर से. Hello. Hello.
Sir, I think that question is in chat also.
Oh, let me check. When we are taking critical closed loop in EV, like feedback of air suspension.
no, sir.
Is
One, sir.
Huh?
The next question.
PID is used instead of PI.
This is
Sir, how can we optimize battery life in low power EV?
How we can optimize battery life in low power EV through advanced BMS algorithm, and what thermal management strategies work best for the small capacity EV drive? This is a very good question. Okay. Actually, mainly the life of battery. Battery is some kind of condenser capacitor. Okay. Batteries and capacitors always have a definite charging and discharging cycle. In conventional all lead acid batteries, charging and they are having maximum charging discharging cycle of 1250. In some cases, it may be 1000, it may be 800, it may be 500. That depends on the charging and discharging current of the battery. Every battery has a rated maximum charging current and rated discharging current, maximum discharging current. If you will exceed the charging and discharging current value from its rated value, even for a microsecond, that will reduce the life of the battery. So if the switching transients of the switches will enter into the battery, that will significantly reduce the life of the battery. The most important thing in the life of the battery is the value of the charging and discharging current. Second, you should try to stop the entering all the transient voltages and currents into the battery. Okay, so BMS algorithm is not that much important. The important thing in the life of the battery is the operation of the converter which is being used. Okay, although definitely the BMS is there to control the operation of those switches, but the design of that converter is also very important. If I have not placed a proper value of the inductor in the circuit, that will definitely reduce the life of the battery. If I will not if I will not select a proper switch of IGBT switch, then that will also reduce the life of the battery. If I will not choose a proper capacitor, capacitor of proper value, that will also reduce the life of the battery. So the life of the battery depends on so many things. Okay, so algorithm of the BMS only can optimize up to a certain level, but basically the life will be depends on the selection of the components of the converter and how the BMS can help. That can ensure the charging and discharging current of the battery. So if you will reduce the charging current, means if you will increase the charging time of the battery, always the life of the battery will be high. Second thing, the battery should not be allowed to discharge less than a particular threshold value. The 12-volt battery should not be discharged beyond 10.8 volt. If you will reduce the battery beyond that value, then definitely life of the battery will reduce. Are you getting a point? And thermal management system is a different thing. Okay, so you can put some check on the thermal temperature of the battery. Okay, so you may use the temperature as a feedback variable in your BMS system. Okay, so you can design usually all BMS systems consider the temperature of the battery. Okay, so you can take the temperature as a one of the input variable in the control of this BMS battery management system algorithm. Okay.
Yes, sir, that addressed the question. So we are very much.
Ma'am, can I have a question, please?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so this is a Dr. Abhinav Saxena from JC Host University. Actually, I just want to know, is it a sir, hardware model, something like this schematic diagram which you have present here?
Yeah. Definitely.
So I just want to know the overall cost of this system, sir.
So see the cost of this inverter. So that's the hardware that we
Yeah.
in IIT Delhi. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So these are the sensors and this is motor and this is opto isolator and this is inverter. Okay.
Approximates the cost, I just want to know.
Approximately cost. See, the cost mainly depends on the rating of these components. Okay.
Fine, sir.
So in case of if you require 30 kilowatt inverter, okay, 40 kilowatt inverter, that will cost almost 1.5 lakh rupees. Okay, and this DC-DC converter will cost almost 10 to 15,000 rupees. Okay, and this DBR will cost almost 2,000 rupees for 30-40 ampere. Okay, and PMBLDC motor will cost almost 20-30,000 rupees, maybe sometime 50,000, depending on the vendor. Okay, so Hall sensors are inbuilt in that motor.
Okay, sir. So the inverter which you have used here, it is like a multi-level inverter or normal inverter, sir?
No, normal VSC inverter.
Okay, sir.
We never use multi-level inverter in drives. Never use. Because the multi-level inverters are only used where we required to operate the system at very high voltages.
Okay, fine, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Any other?
Anyone else?
Sir?
Yeah. Please.
This is Ashutosh Bist from SVSU.
Oh, yeah.
You have said that you can apply a controller with respect to PI. So basically we can go to advanced level of controllers.
definitely.
Mode or backstepping, but you are still stuck to PI and you are not using derivative part. So basically, I can just, well, either it is a suggestion or something. We can, because in commercial application we generally use PID control as an overall package. So with derivative component we can use an active low pass filter, because derivative helps in controlling the overshooting, be it through any case, through any uncertainties it may arise. If not using derivative controller, how do you plan to control the
No, see, once your controller is tuned with any system, okay, even if you change the value of KPKI, it will not affect the system unless and until some dynamic situation will be arises. Are you getting a point? If
yes,
I will
sir.
tune my
Okay.
system, let me show you. Dr. Preeti, can you give me some for 5 minutes?
Yes, sir, please, sir.
See, I have one video of this digital control that I implemented. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This video is not running. See, I'm confused. These are the rectifiers. See, this is a sensor board. This is voltage sensor. This is a current sensor. Board. This is inverter. See, this is the control panel of this DSP controller, and these sliders are for adjustment of the KP and KI. Uh, 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 am I audible?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, see, these ये जो है ना, ये KP KI की वैल्यू सेट करने के लिए स्लाइडर्स है. ओके, देखिए आप ये.
Yes, sir.
तो अगर मैं एक बार इसको, मैंने जब ऑपरेट किया बहुत बार, मतलब मैंने 9 साल यही चलाया आईटी दिल्ली में, तो एक बार जब सिस्टम ट्यून्ड हो जाता है, once my system is tuned, even if I will vary the value of these KPKI, that will not affect to my system unless and until a sudden,
Yes, sir.
a large dynamic change will occur at the load side. My system will not
That
change.
is what I was asking, sir. For any uncertainties, how do you plan for
Uncertainty,
any kind of uncertainties arising?
in any kind of
So what is the
uncertainty,
backup plan for that?
listen, for any type of uncertainty, even if you will change from 0% to 100% or 100% to 0%, that PI controller will take care. You don't require derivative control. By using the derivative controller, you are unnecessarily creating trouble for your system. That's not required. I implemented almost 500 controllers. I had 27 patents in this area.
Okay.
I have published more than 17 transactions in this area. I implemented all these schemes in analog as well as in digital, both. Are you getting a point? So PI controller is more than sufficient. We don't require. I don't understand why people are using derivative controller. That may create lot of problem for them. See, this is DC link voltage. That is perfectly 400 volts. Frequency 50 hertz. तो 5 bit का वीडियो. Okay. Are you satisfied? Am I audible? Dr. Preeti?
The
There is some signal problem, I think so.
Sir, please the video. Now it is okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. Please.
Good to you, sir, for sharing your valuable insights of the complete research and your expertise as well with
Pardon?
us and all the participants. Participant.
Thank you.
The feedback link has already been shared in the chat box and the WhatsApp group. So you can please share the feedback for this particular session. And we will be now closing the session for today, and we'll be meeting again tomorrow for the second day. And the first session will be based on the MATLAB only. So I would request to please join on time, and then we will be looking forward to meet you on the platform for the second day of the participation. Thank you very much to everyone, and please submit the feedback sessions for today, both of the sessions. Thank you, everyone.